So, thinking a little bit more about how people conceptualize their way in the world, we can also talk about worldviews such as consumerism or materialism. And these are generally part of the assumed backdrop of our lives. They're part of the normal, and we don't talk about them so much. But we could consider that we might agree or disagree to different extents with the idea of consumerism, an ideology that encourages the ongoing acquisition of goods and services. That is to say, the good life is made up of consuming more and more. You could agree with that to a certain extent or not. Materialism, highly related, is a value system where social status, whether people are high or low status, in some sense whether they're good compared to other people, is determined by wealth, by affluence, and ownership and consumption of goods and services.
Astronomers have identified what could be two of the Milky Way's earliest building blocks, named Shakti and Shiva. These appear to be the remnants of two galaxies that merged between 12 and 13 billion years ago with an early version of the Milky Way, contributing to our home galaxy's initial growth. The new find is the astronomical equivalent of archaeologists identifying traces of an initial settlement that grew into a large present-day city. It required combining data for nearly 6 million stars from ESA's Gaia mission with measurements from the SDSS survey. The results have been published in the Astrophysical Journal.
However, until now, it was unclear how the bees gathered around a waggle dancer make sense of the information. Gaining greater insights into how bees communicate could help scientists to better understand the effects of issues such as habitat loss and pesticide use on the insect's ability to find food. Researchers say a team from the University of Edinburgh made the discovery by studying a colony of honeybees at an apiary at the university and using computational models to mimic their brain processes.
Forests and streams are separate but linked ecosystems, existing side by side, with energy and nutrients crossing their porous borders and flowing back and forth between them. For example, leaves fall from trees, enter streams, decay and feed aquatic insects. Those insects emerge from the waters and are eaten by birds and bats. Researchers have found that a specific subtype of a microbe commonly found in the mouth is able to travel to the gut and grow within colorectal cancer tumors. This microbe is also a culprit for driving cancer progression and leads to poorer patient outcomes after cancer treatment. The findings could help improve therapeutic approaches and early screening methods for colorectal cancer, which is the second most common cause of cancer deaths in adults in the U.S. according to the American Cancer Society. Share.
The room temperature conversion of CO2 into liquid fuels has been a decades-long quest. Such strategies could help achieve carbon-neutral energy cycles, particularly if the conversion is powered by sunlight. The carbon emitted as CO2 by burning single carbon fuel molecules such as methanol could essentially be recycled into making new fuel without adding any new carbon to the atmosphere.
This approach holds the potential to improve the design of solar arrays, increasing their effectiveness in harnessing solar energy. This realization means that we can now focus on different things instead of just making solar cells work better. In future, we're going to examine solar harvesting pathways that includes tessellation. It's like a puzzle pattern that could help us capture even more sun power.
Mprevissa tunburui was a member of a group of birds called Enantornithines, or opposite birds, named for a feature in their shoulder joints that is opposite from what's seen in modern birds. Enantiornithines were once the most diverse group of birds, but they went extinct 66 million years ago following the meteor impact that killed most of the dinosaurs. Scientists are still working to figure out why the enantiornithines went extinct and the ornithoromorphs, the group that gave rise to modern birds, survived.
The Seattle Swiftquake prompted the California Office of Emergency Services to ask Seismic Network operators in the state to see if any interesting research might be generated at Swift's August concert dates in Los Angeles. TEP's colleagues set up strong motion sensors at Sophie Stadium, analyzing data collected by those devices along with data from nearby permanent regional seismic network stations. Previous research shows that concert tremor can be recorded as long-duration signals with narrow band harmonic frequency peaks between 1 and 10 Hz.
The findings showed that when the actors heard their own name during the performance, their response was suppressed in the left anterior prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is usually associated with self-awareness. The same result was witnessed consistently in 6 actors who were tested when rehearsing several times over a week. Meanwhile, when the performers were not in acting conditions, they responded normally to hearing their own name. We used new brain imaging methods to see into the brains of professional actors as they rehearsed Shakespeare, to try and understand the neuroscience of complex dynamic social interactions.